What's the worst thing someone tried to correct you about something you're specialized at? A new house gets built next door to mine, and shortly after the owners move in, they knock on my door to complain that my house is built too high. I explain that my house is built on flat ground and their builder has built their house lower, and undercut my fence. The guy proceeds to give a long-winded spiel about how earthworks are done and my house is too high and I have to fix it. I then explain that I do earthworks for a living, have done the earthworks for 300 plus houses in my suburb alone, and around 1200 in the local area. I name his builder, site supervisor, engineer, the exact floor levels in the street, and the law that says that he has to pay to fix my fence. He still hasn't paid, and legal procedures are beginning soon. I didn't specialize on it, but when I worked at the deli in my local grocery store, I had a guy come in asking for some sliced ham. I asked him if he wanted black forest ham, honey baked or mesquite ham. He looked at me and said it's not mesquite, it's mystique. I pointed at the sign and label on the actual effing ham that said mesquite ham, but he still corrected me. I gave up and gave him his damn mystique ham. This was a good 15 years ago and I'm still mad about it. My wife has a friend who studied zoology who once told me that cows can't run or jump. I grew up with them. I, more than once, had to run after or away from them after they had jumped a fence. Cows are fucking fast when they want to be. I got shut down by this actually. I was arguing with my cousin while we were in an old hydraulic elevator. I said the hydraulic elevators are slow, crap and have far more failures than cable elevators. The guy standing across from us laughs, shakes his head and says he's an elevator repairman, and that's not true at all. Shamed. My friend and I went to Dapper Day at Disney last weekend, where people dress up in vintage wear. One of Disney's photographers asked my friend if she was Disney bounding, interpreting a Disney character, and she replied that she was simply a generic dress circa 1955. The photographer began telling us how she was really much more late 1940s, and that we may have researched it, but he lived through it, and next time we should look at a picture. We are both professional theatrical costumers whose strengths lie in historical costuming, and her dress was taken directly from a 1955 catalog. Further, based on his approximate age, and being generous that he may have aged well, this man was definitely not older than 5 in 1955. My height. I'm 6 feet 10. Guy comes up and says he's 6 feet 10, so I must be like 7. Nah, man. You're 6 feet 6 maximum. And then we went back and forth about that for a bit. Also had the other side of that coin where someone will ask how tall I am and I'll reply 6 minutes and 10 seconds and they just straight up won't believe me and will tell me I'm lying. Like, what? Why? What would I possibly stand to benefit? I'm an identical twin and a big biology nerd. I had someone insist that fraternal twins are paternal twins and explain why she'll have some BC they've leapfrogged through her husband's family. I'm a Harley mechanic and I swear most Harley riders have to pretend they know everything about their bike. I don't even argue with them anymore. I just tell them what's up, and if they want to debate about it, I say okay and walk away. LOL. My parents are Italian. I speak Italian, and I've had people in the US who are 1/4 Italian at best, or who once ate Italian food, correct me on the pronunciation of any number of things. Yeah, I've forgotten how to say a lot of things, so maybe I'm not a specialist per se, but sauce isn't called gravy in Italy. Sorry. You wouldn't believe the number of times people tried to tell me that people only become diabetic if they eat too much sugar and insist they are right. I'm a type 1 diabetic, diagnosed at 14 months. Was I drinking soda from my bottles and using ring pops as pacifiers? Then, asked to do the rear brakes on a classic Vespa. I think it may have been a 200 rally. Not sure. It was decades ago. So the owner and his pal turn up with the scooter. I loosen off and remove the rear rim and tire, loosen the hub nut and go to put the rear rim and tire back on. Oh hey, wait a minute mate, what the F out you doing? I'm getting the hub off. Not like that you're not. So I tell them I'm going for a cuppa and a smoke and I'll be back when they've removed the hub. 4 hours. 4 bloody hours they were at it. Hub wouldn't budge, not 1 millimeter. Getting bored I go back to them. Put the rim and tire on. Screw in and tighten 2 wheel bolts and using a mallet hit 3 times in 1 point. Then 3 times 180 degrees opposite. Rinse and repeat 3 or 4 times. Whole rim tire hub assembly lifts off. I charged them 1/2 a day labor for a 30-minute job. I had to leave our welding for this reason. I'm a welder on nuclear submarines with over 14 different X-ray welding qualifications at this company alone. I would constantly get into arguments with people who are new and have no real-world experience with welding. The amount of wrong information being thrown out left and right over there is insane. There are plenty of very knowledgeable folks there, but they are overshadowed by the ignorant. Got a ton of these when I worked at a video game store. My favorite was a guy who came in around the time Skyrim came out and asked if we had the new Elder Scrolls game. I said, "Oh, you mean Skyrim?" He laughed condescendingly and said, "No, I mean Scrim," thinking he was just mistaken. I was like, "Oh no, it's called Skyrim." "No, it's not. It's pronounced Scrim." At that point I realized he didn't even want the game. He just wanted to show up the girl working in the game store with his superior knowledge. And X200B also had someone come in demanding the Mario game on PS1. When I said no such thing existed, he immediately went ballistic, screaming that it does exist and he played it at his friend's house. He eventually stormed out of the store yelling about how stupid I was. Guessing he'd had that interaction at a few other game stores that day. For a short time I was teaching in a school, and at the end of the year an inspector visited to go over the way I had corrected the final exams. He insisted that the answer to a particular question was not the one I said was correct. He was the one who had written the question. I argued with him that I was very sure that I knew what I was saying. I had written a thesis about this particular topic. It took a lot of effort not to punch him in the face. I studied history at uni and worked for a while as a tour guide in Prague, Czech Republic. I had a customer once on a walking tour of the city go really snarky with me because I called the river running through the city the Vltava. He declared to the whole tour that that wasn't its name. I asked him if he'd heard it referred to as the Moldor, as that was the German name for the river during the Habsburg era when German was the official language. But he said no, and was I stupid? The river was called the Danube. I pointed out to him that the Danube doesn't run through Prague, and asked if maybe he was thinking of Brno. No. He had definitely read in a guidebook that it was the Danube, and why the hell was he paying money for this tour if the guide didn't even know what the river was called? At which point another tourist in the group showed him her guidebook where it clearly said Vltava. Then another showed him a map, and another showed him another guidebook, and so on, until the whole group had basically showed him what a twazza he was being. He didn't apologize, of course, but at least he shut up for the rest of the tour. I'm not really specialized, but a Redditor tried correcting me about the geography of my country, Norway, claiming that it was very much flat like all the other Nordic countries, and he refused to believe me when I told him that it's the opposite and it's filled with mountains. Oh boy, where do I begin? I'm a professional music producer. I've been for years. My productions get great reviews from people and are often singled out by music magazines and other industry professionals. People who know what they're doing are nothing but nice and supportive. But I get shit from salty bedroom guitarists all the fucking time. Seems like every time I produce a young band, there's this one guy there who thinks he knows it all because he watched a YouTube video. The bass knob on the amp should be set at 10. Because 5 years ago I heard that Tremonti sets his bass knob at 10. There should be no effects or editing on the vocals. Because Black Sabbath in the 70s didn't have vocal effects. Double tracking guitars? What the fuck? Nirvana had one guitar player and they were the biggest band on the planet. We're recording only one take. I have worked in a tire garage for nearly 10 years and am female. I can't even count how many times people try to tell me how to do my job. No, you can't cross-rotate my tires. You will break a belt. The tires will explode. Sir, we haven't sold bias ply tires in over 10 years. We only sell radial tires and the way I'm rotating them is specific to the drive axle of your vehicle. Or my personal favorite, sitting there as a customer lays into me for 30 minutes about how we sold them magnetic tires. I never had a nail in my tires until I bought your tires. I've had 3 repairs since I bought tires from you guys. This is a stunt to make money off of me. If only I knew how to make rubber magnetic, I'd be so rich doing all my free repairs. I studied geology for some time and I was telling someone about how the area we live in is mostly limestone cause it used to be sediment that was on the ocean surface, and they said that place we live is above ground now. It could have never been below sea level. Geoscience classes must not be doing too well. I'm majoring in archaeology. I had a guy start talking to me about dinosaurs. I correct him and say it's a fairly common misconception, but paleontology and archaeology are two different fields and I'm studying humans, not dinosaurs. He doubles down and insists I need to know about dinosaurs because what do you do if you're digging up ruins and find a dinosaur fossil? Call a paleontologist? He smugly tells me I'll be useless in the field if I don't know about dinosaurs and I better start registering for paleontology courses and leaves. I still don't know about dinosaurs.